that contribute to the anxiety. Medications such as anti-anxiety medications or antidepressants may be prescribed to help manage symptoms. In conclusion, anxiety is a common and treatable conditions that affect many people. With the right support and treatment, individuals can learn to manage their anxiety and lead fulfilling lives. If you or someone you know is struggling with anxiety, it's important to seek help from a qualified health professional. And with that being said, let's get into it. So, in dealing with anxiety, um, with something I've had, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many times I've dealt with anxiety for so many things. I mean, one time there was an earthquake years ago, and I was in the elevator, and the elevator got stuck. I was stuck in the elevator for 4 hours. Initially, I thought, well, I can get out. Somebody will come get me. After about 30 minutes, that's when the fear started to set in, the panic of thinking I'm not going to get out or I'm going to die or just suffocating here. I began to feel suffocated and I began to have like heart palpitations and severe nervousness, a feeling of doom. And I just could not calm myself down for the life of me, And I remember them saying, "Oh, we're going to get you out. We're going to get you out." But, it was taking too long. And until this day, I have panic when it comes to elevators. I mean, I literally have to get in with somebody else, and I figure we'll get stuck together, right? It has to be a new elevator, so I'm feeling like, okay, this is brand new. It's not going to get stuck. But if it's an old one and it takes like 5 or 10 minutes to open up, yeah, I might be taking the stairs instead of the elevator. And I remember years ago when I went on an interview, the job interview, when I got there to the front desk, they said, well, it's going to be on the 12th floor. And it was an old building. And I remember, oh my God, uh, you know, I don't want to get in that elevator. I was scared to death. And I didn't. I literally walked up 12 flights of stairs for an interview. By the time I got up there to that interview, I didn't even care if I got the interview. I mean, I was just, and on the way up, I kept thinking about, gosh, I want to turn around. I want to go back. And I thought, no, let me go to this interview. But then I kept thinking, why am I going when I scared to take the elevator to go up? I'm not going to be walking up 12 flights of stairs every day. But then I was young and I was thinking maybe it's a good exercise. And so I was trying to justify the means. By the time I got there to that interview, I just didn't care. I really, literally. And maybe because I didn't care, I was more relaxed in the interview process. But all I could think about the whole time of that interview is the fact that I would have to climb 12 flights of stairs. And I thought, well, no, it's not going to work for me. Although I got through the process, I took the 12 flights going down, which was a lot easier than coming up. But later on, they did offer me the job, but all I thought about is I can't go up 12 flights of stairs. So I ended up getting another job offer, and so that didn't go through. I mean, so we deal with anxiety on so many different levels. I even get nervous when I have to go to the doctors. And I'm sure many of us go to the doctors and feel nervous or too nervous to even go to the doctors because it seems like every time we go, we're going to hear something horrible or we worry that we're going to hear something horrible. And what does that mean? We're creating excess worry unnecessarily. We're already pre-predicting, our doom. And so that alone can bring on anxiety. Um, just merely getting your blood pressure taken can make you nervous, like, oh my God, is it high? So you've already, brought up that flight response within your system. And now, when you take the blood pressure, it's high because you feeling that sense of anxiety. People take tests. Oh my God. Test. Yes, test. People get anxiety from just taking a test. A test can stress you out because your goal is what? To get 100% or to at least score good enough to pass. And so that anxiety builds up. And then when you run out of time and there's like only maybe 10 minutes left, we got over 100 questions. Oh my God, the anxiety just really, really starts to come on, even more so. And then you just start losing your sense of concentration and your sense of thinking because you're anxious and you're nervous that you're not going to complete it in time. And then you're just answering questions at random because you just know you're not going to make it. And that anxiety builds up. People get anxiety when they go to interviews, especially when there's like 5 people on the panel or 10 and you don't know what the questions are. You're challenged by the thought, have I studied enough? Do I have enough information to present? Are they going to ask me a question I can't answer and I'm going to look stupid? And so what happens? We get anxiety. You start feeling anxious and nervous. We can just get anxiety from just overworking ourselves or just not breathing. We forget to breathe. How hard is it to do that? Easy. A lot of times we get so engulfed in everything that we're doing that we literally forget to breathe. And a lot of times that can bring on anxiety. We start feeling, oh God, I start feeling anxious. It's like, oh, let me step back, take a deep breath, breathe in 4, exhale 8. Yes. Oh, that felt good. Yes. That helps you to relieve some of the tension. More deep breathing when it comes to anxiety. There are social phobias, heights. I have phobias. There's a lot of daredevils out there, just a piece of cake. But for me, I can't stand at the edge of a cliff. If I did, I would, oh my God, start feeling nervous, anxiety, fear, feeling kind of dizzy, off balance. I might even fall over the cliff. So no, I couldn't go, to the edge of a cliff. I remember my daughter and I went to the Grand Canyon and we were so high up and she wanted to go to the edge. I just could not do it. It was just, I was just getting so nervous. I literally got on my knees and crawled, felt like I was more stable that way. So there's a lot of things that people endure in life that brings on anxiety. Social phobias bring on anxiety. Just you can't be in a crowd. You feel claustrophobic. You feel like you can't get out. And so anxiety may come on from that, or just merely being. Matter of fact, another example is, oh my God, I went to have an MRI done. Speaking of claustrophobic. And I thought it was a piece of cake. When you look at the machine when it comes to the MRI, this looks, oh, okay, it's just, it's open, you can put you in there. But when the moment they strapped me down, I wasn't bothered. But when they, put you in the machine, the MRI machine, and all you can see is like literally like, this much room because, your face is here and then you've got the machine like right here, like a coffin. I freaked out. I like literally freaked out, like totally freaked out, kicking, let me out of here, let me out of here. Like, oh my God. I didn't realize I just could not do it, So no, you couldn't put me in a coffin alive and shut the door. You couldn't put me in the trunk of a car and slam it. I would literally probably start hyperventilating and getting nervous and going through that process to try to bring myself down to woosah. But yes, I could not get into the MRI machine. So now it's like whenever I go, I'm like, look, I'm claustrophobic. You got to put me in an MRI machine that's open. But that particular day, they had to get the MRI. So, they put something over my eyes and, strapped you down. It's just that whole fear of being strapped down and being in that machine. It's just, for me, it was traumatic. And from others, a piece of cake. Get in there and do what they have to do and no problems. But for me, it was, So, of course, I started counting, and it was the longest count ever because I was in there for like 45 minutes. So it was a long time, very long time. And so you really don't know some of the times the things that can bring on anxiety until you actually are exposed to that situation. And then you come to realize, oh my God, this is causing me to have anxiety. Anxiety can cause you to feel like a sense of doom, like this is it. I'm dying, like I'm going to have a heart attack or I'm going to have a stroke. I mean, it's a horrible, horrible feeling, very disabling, especially if it's constant or if you're just simply out and about and all of a sudden you have an anxiety attack and you don't have a trigger. Then you're trying to understand why is it coming on? What was the trigger? And it's so important that we try to identify most of the triggers that may bring on anxiety outside of the ones that we just can't find the etiology of. We can't understand why it came on. Like, for instance, I have some Coke with caffeine and have anxiety, then I'm going to assume that the caffeine maybe had a contribution to me having anxiety, because caffeine does bring on anxiety. Um, Having foods that have caffeine in it can bring on a sense of anxiety. So for me personally, I don't drink anything that has caffeine in it because I don't like the feeling of nervousness, even if it causes me to feel nervous and not bring on that major flight of anxiety. But just the nervousness alone is good enough for me to say, nope, that's it. So if you're dealing with anxiety, you might want to check your diet, which is really important because that plays a big role on our body and how we feel inside. Sugar, if you look it up, brings on anxiety and nervousness. Too much sugar can bring on anxiety. It throws a lot of things off. Our cortisol levels, our adrenaline starts flowing, our blood pressure goes up, anxiety sets in with that high blood pressure. It can bring on nervousness and anxiety. So there's a lot of contributing factors. So it's like, how do we control it? How do we manage it? And of course, earlier on, as I read, there's a lot of ways of managing your anxiety. One is a holistic approach, trying to do a lot of mindfulness and deep breathing techniques, trying to just get sunshine. I mean, just for me, just going out, sitting in the sun and relaxing helps calm things down. Beaches help calm things down. If you're a beach goer and love going to the beach, just go to the beach, relax, chill out. You know, clear your mind, clear your thoughts, and just don't think about things that are causing you to worry. Excess worry brings on anxiety. Um, there's anxiety groups that people participate in where everybody talks about their stories, things that are impacting them, things that are bringing on anxiety that are affecting them. um, Groups sessions, therapy, just talking about it, learning to cope. A lot of times we think too much into things, and that can bring on anxiety, excess of thinking about stuff that hasn't even happened yet. And we're already worried, like, oh my God, we just really brought on anxiety. It's like, relax. Um, Things that are forthcoming. For instance, I remember I had to get my wisdom tooth extracted. Oh my God. I was just like a nervous wreck. All I could think about is the needles and, them pulling something out of my mouth, this tooth, and this brought on so much anxiety. And I just had to really try to breathe. By the time I got in there, of course, they want to take your blood pressure and it was out the roof. And I told them I'm just, nervous. I'm nervous whether, here we go, thinking, overthinking. I'm nervous whether the doctor's good enough, whether he's going to do a good job, how long it's going to take, if it's going to work. I mean, if they're going to break the tooth, all of that. Instead of me just chilling out, relaxing, like, you got this, okay, let me relax. But no, I got to freak out about the tooth being pulled. For some individuals, oh, just put me to sleep. That's it. I don't want to know. But the whole notion of knowing you have an appointment for to have your tooth pulled. So it's the before event. It's before you get there. So it gives you time to think about all of it. Being in pain and all of that brings on anxiety. Being told that you have a life disease that is incurable. That brings on anxiety and stress. Until you come to terms of accepting it. And then trying to live with it and cope. Being told that you have cancer, that can bring on anxiety. Being told that um, family member was in a car accident, oh my God, your heart just drops and you start getting nervous and you have that sense of anxiety and that overwhelmed feeling until you be able to get yourself back into a composure state. Then you're crying and you're more emotional, dealing with it. But it's that initial rush. Scary movies for some people, oh my God, I can't even watch scary movies. I'm like eyes closed, like, I probably miss half the movie, literally, because, I'm things popping out. That I'm just like, a lot of times we create anxiety for ourselves, and for some it's a thrill. It's like, oh, they love that fear feeling. But for others, it's like, this feels awful. Why am I going to scare myself to death? Why am I going to watch this movie just to scare myself to death? Sometimes we have vivid dreams and we wake up nervous inside because it was a scary dream and it actually affected us in our sleep. So anxiety goes from mild to major. It just depends on the circumstances. It depends on what's going on in your life. It depends on the degree of anxiety you're feeling. Everyone has anxiety many different ways. Like I said, from mild to major, and to being debilitating. It's like, I'm tired every day of feeling nervous. I'm tired every day of just having this anxious feeling. But yet you choose not to take medication, or perhaps you're trying to take the holistic approach, but yet you're still having those feelings. At the end of the day, we have to learn how to cope and how to deal with those feelings so that it's not so debilitating. And it makes it hard. Many people don't even want to go outside the house because they feel like they're going to have a panic attack. It's the fear of going outside. Matter of fact, some people won't even drive a car because they feel they're going to have a panic attack because they may have had a recent accident. And trying to overcome that fear is overwhelming. So, and with that comes therapy, just, exposing yourself to what it is that is bringing you the fear to try to overcome. Easier said than done, but it's, keep doing it enough, you'll be able to overcome it. Like myself, I gotten to the point where I can get in elevators, but not the old ones yet still. I'm not getting there with others, and figure we'll just all be stuck together. Maybe they'll help me through that process. But by myself, no, no. So I have phobias, and many of us have phobias. Like even according to Forbes, when they posted here, I was seeing October 23rd, uh, 2023, I guess, when they posted, estimate 31.1% of U.S. adults experience anxiety at some point. According to Mental Health America, it's well over 42.5 million individuals that are affected with anxiety problems. So that's big and that's huge. You know, um, like I said, anxiety affects us in many different ways, and we cope with it in many different ways. But the goal of it all is to make it where it's sustainable in our lives, where we can sustain ourselves and still live and not feel so um, debilitated by it. You know what I mean? We don't want to be where we just can't go outside, or where we just scared to drive a car, where we just don't want to live life. And we have to find a medium, a way of living life and coping with the anxiety, still being able to achieve some of the things we want to do in life. Realize, okay, I'm having a panic attack. Whew, let me woosah. Let me try to bring it down and get it to a state where I'm feeling okay. One thing I did notice about in panic attacks, when you have a full blown panic attack, it seems to take the body a little bit longer to get back to normal. So it's almost like little small earthquakes, after a major one. Maybe the next day you're feeling a little on edge, and the next day after that, a little bit, a little bit here, a little bit there. It's like these little mini quakes that you feel until your body gets to a normal state of feeling okay. It's almost like it's the anxiety came on and it just overtaken your body. And now, you're trying to bring calm in, and it's starting to calm, but you're still having a little bit more of it the next day, but just more controllable, a little bit the next day and the next day, and then eventually you're feeling a lot better. That's like one of the, really horrible anxieties because it can make you feel hot, flush, dizzy, lightheaded, heart beating out of your chest. You just think it's gonna just, um, and you're really trying to bring yourself down. And it can take a minute, up to 30 minutes, sometimes an hour or longer. It just depends on your state of mind. Because up here, it's how we try to control our thoughts and our emotions and how we're feeling. So we have to whew, either distract our thoughts to try to take it off of the rush, take it off of how it's making us feel, and how we start feeling, when we feel it comes on, we get even more nervous because of it coming on. And so it's like we have to counteract that and just like, okay, you need to go away. You need to leave me alone. Or talk to yourself. Leave me alone, anxiety. I'm not trying to deal with you today. Um, and bringing yourself back down and taking away that feeling of fear. Yes, it's possible and it's attainable. But there's a lot of information out there, a lot of holistic things out there. There's medication out there. There's beta blockers, which you can ask your doctor about. There's benzos, we call them benzos, benzodiazepines, which you can ask your doctor about. Those are generally habit formers. There's SSRIs. There's other and various different medications you can take for anxiety. Should you choose to go that route? Choose to go the holistic route, as we said before, there's a lot of things that you can do to help yourself. With yoga, mindfulness, getting some exercise, running, working out, getting those serotonin levels leveled out, um, talking to people, figuring out ways to distract your thoughts, trying not to worry as much as we do when we tend to always over worry about things. Even when our kids walk out the house, we worry about them, you know. Even when we have to go somewhere far and the weather's bad, we pre-worry. Oh my God, we're going to make it because it's horrible out there. But we just have to live. We have to live life. Should we live life in fear? No, we shouldn't. But many of us do because that fear is what prevents us from moving forward. So we have to think outside the box, meaning we can't allow it to take control of our lives. We can't allow it to ruin our lives. And many of us feel that this anxiety, the feelings of anxiety has ruined our lives, or it's so debilitating that you just fear walking out the house. That's where you have to overcome your fears. That's where you have to work on you. That's where first law of nature comes in, self-preservation. I got to preserve myself so that I can be a vessel to others. And by doing so, I'm helping to heal myself as much as possible. Remember to try to live, even when you're dealing with anxiety and all that it comes with it. It's not fun, but at some point in life, we're going to face it, whether it's from interviewing for a job to somebody jumping out from behind you and scaring us to death, from somebody telling us that, we have to possibly evacuate because of a storm, or from just fear in general. At one point in life is something we have to deal with, and we have to be prepared for it and prepared to know how to deal with it, whether it's holistically, whether it's therapy, whether it's medication. We have to deal with it and face it head on. I am Dr. Kayla Taylor. Thanks for watching Mental Health, Wellness, and Life Challenges. You have a story you would like to talk about, send us an email. We might very well share your story. Until next time.